Hi guys, in this video I'm going to be talking about where to buy in Brisbane in the next 6 months to get some amazing growth. Okay, so hi, my name's PK. I help people achieve passive income in property investing by buying positive cash flow properties that also grow in value without paying $10,000 or $15,000 for a buyer's agent, without spending their weekends at inspections, and also without spending weeks or months doing research on realestate.com.au, Domain, RP Data, all these mainstream websites. But let's get into it. Okay, so Brisbane has been touted as, about to boom for about 7 or 8 years. I know that lots of you might be newish property investors and you're hearing in the commentary in the expert reviews, expert opinion columns from property journalists that Brisbane is about to boom. This is not a new phenomenon. People have been saying this since about 2013. Ever since Sydney and Melbourne started to rise, the natural rhetoric was that that Brisbane follows. Because over the last 20, 30 years, generally speaking, that's what's happened. But it was very different this time. So yes, Brisbane has gone up since 2013. Of that, there's no doubt. But definitely not to the extent that Melbourne and Sydney has. So many people have been buying in Brisbane over the last 6 or 7 years. So many experts and advisors, agents have been getting their clients into Brisbane. And yes, select pockets have gone up, but really there has been a huge opportunity cost for buying in Brisbane. What that means is that yes, you would have probably achieved 10 to 15% growth over the last 5 years had you bought in Brisbane, but if you had bought in other parts of Australia, you would have achieved up to 60-70% of growth in the last 5 years. So there's a huge opportunity cost, but I'm going to be talking about today where I think Brisbane is actually going to shine in the near term. And I just want to be super clear that in property investing, where you buy is more important than what you buy. Okay? So I know that so many people think that, look, I know a bunch of suburbs, I want to get the right deal, I want to get the right type of property. That's all important, but 70 to 80% of the capital growth, 70 to 80% of whether you will get positive cash flow or not is dictated or determined by where you buy. The where is more important than the what. We need to get the what right as well, the type of property for the demographic, but the where is the most important thing. That's where money is made or lost. You could get the where right and get the what completely wrong and still make hundreds of thousands of dollars. Okay? So where should you buy in Brisbane? Now, Logan Shire, or otherwise known as the Logan City Council, the Moreton Bay City Council, Ipswich City Council regions, which are south, north, and west respectively of Brisbane City Council, have been, typically speaking, where the majority of investors have bought over the last 5 to 7 years. Now, the reasons are quite clear. The reasons are because that is where the positive cash flow opportunities were, right? You could get 5, 6, sometimes 7% back in the day fairly easily, but the problem is that those properties have almost experienced no growth. Now, of course, this is a generalization. There's always deals to be done. There's always development deals to be done and ways to manufacture equity. But in a completely passive buy and hold, set and forget strategy, really, if you were chasing the positive cash flow in those 3 city councils, yep, you've made $2,000 or $3,000 per annum in the last 5 years, but you've not experienced any growth. So in this video, I want to say that the growth that will happen in the next 3 years in Brisbane is not necessarily going to be in these lower socioeconomic areas. Not that socioeconomic demographic actually has any correlation with capital price increases. That's been disproven time and time again. Just look at Mount Druitt, Western Suburbs, Blacktown in Sydney, etc. But these 3 areas, Ipswich, Logan, and Moreton Bay, for various reasons, their demand-supply ratio or balance, there's 30 to 35 factors that go into that, is not quite primed for growth. Okay, so when people say Brisbane will grow, it's not that Brisbane will grow, right? There will be select pockets of Brisbane that do really, really well, and other pockets that won't do really, really well. Okay, so the where is more important than the what. Where in Brisbane rather than Brisbane itself. Okay, so look, the areas that I'm seeing, and it's not my personal opinion, the areas where the data is lining up like stars in the sky is areas in the middle ring on the northwest of Brisbane and the southeast. And once again, we're talking like around 10 kilometers from the CBD. Once again, proximity to CBD has no statistical correlation with capital price increases on the percentage basis. So it's not a fact that, Lord, let's just buy as close to the city as possible. That doesn't matter. You can just look at inner city suburbs like Coorparoo on the southeast that have performed fairly ordinary in the last 3 or 4 years, but very close to the city, high affluent area. So for various reasons, most suburbs in the next 2 to 3 years aren't actually going to do that well in Brisbane, but there's some select suburbs on the southeast, very close to Coorparoo, I might add, and around the Hills District, or even just within the Hills District, between the city and the Hills District, that will actually do very well. Now, here's the thing. These suburbs aren't positive cash flow territory. I mean, after depreciation, you might scrape through in neutral territory, but they're definitely not for investors who want $3,000 or $4,000 in their pocket after everything is said and done every single year from a cash flow perspective. But let me ask you this question. Would you rather $50,000 to $100,000 of capital growth in the next 12 to 18 months? Or would you prefer a positive cash flow property that gives you $3,000 to $4,000 per annum? Now, there's actually no right or wrong in that answer, right? Everyone's strategy is different. But the point that I'm trying to make is that if you can afford it, if you can stretch yourself, if your long-term portfolio strategy and the lending environment that you need allows you to buy around the 550 mark to 650 mark, there are suburbs that will go up by $50,000 to $100,000 to $150,000 in the next 2 to 3 years in Brisbane. Now, of course, I'm not going to tell you exactly where they are, but I've given you a pretty good indication. All right, so don't just jump into Moreton Bay, around Peachtree, Callanga. The data is not bad for those areas, but it's not great yet either. Don't jump into Loganshire thinking Brisbane's the next one to take off. Let's buy in Logan Central, Kingston, Woodridge, positive cash flow territory, and we'll get amazing growth. The growth won't come. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Next 5 years, you'll be fairly disappointed. There are some areas like Daisy Hill, which is also technically within the Logan City Council, I believe, that will do relatively well, but now is too soon, according to the data, to be too confident of that. And Ipswich, just stay away. Like, I know all the property marketeers and buyers agents that have a volume game. They need to, fulfill the needs of a client every 4 or 5 days because they have so many clients. Those are the types of business models that will get you into Springfield Lakes, that will get you into Ripley, that will get you into Ipswich, into Leichhardt, all that western area, touting it as the next Parramatta. It's not happening, guys. I'm in Brisbane. I can see so many people that moved out to Springfield Lakes 4 or 5 years ago now moving back into Brisbane City Council area because it's just too far away. The commute, the infrastructure, the road network is just not up to speed. Okay, and there's just not jobs within that satellite area yet, and there probably won't be for the next 5 or 10 years to call it a bona fide satellite city. Anyway, that's a bit tangential. So Brisbane is actually going to do really well, but it's going to be a big standard deviation between the good suburbs and the bad suburbs. It's going to be different to how Sydney was or how Melbourne was 4 or 5 years ago, where everything almost went up. Brisbane is going to be very select because the underlying economy is not booming, unlike Sydney and Melbourne 4 or 5 years ago. All right, so it's going to have to be very select suburb selection. The where is more important than the what. Okay, so you might be able to sneak through neutral cash flow, but if you've got 550 to 650 to spend, you can make like I said before, $50,000 to $150,000 of capital gain potentially in the next 2 to 3 years. All right, so if you really do want that, of course, there's other opportunities across Australia for different strategies that need positive cash flow and growth, maybe a little bit more timid growth. But if you do want to go into Brisbane, just be mindful of what I'm saying. And if you do want to buy a strategic asset that is going to grow very, very, very well with some upside for renovation or subdivision or splitting, get in touch with me, right? So I want to ask you the question, where do you think is going to do really well? Comment below. In Brisbane, where are you seeing the opportunity? I mean, I've got a set of data. I'm sure you guys read the headlines and news and may have looked at the data as well. I'm not sure. And I don't just mean yields and vacancy rates and simple things like that, but true data. But I want to know, where do you think, the suburbs that will grow in value in Brisbane, where are they? Which are they? Which parts of Brisbane are you investing? Let me know. And if you like this video, please give it a like or love so I can get some love back. And if you're on YouTube, subscribe so you can get more recommendation tips and tricks and techniques of property investing every single day. Okay, so I'll leave a link below as well if you do want to have a chat and see how we can get you into a high performing property that will go up and also give you good cash flow. All right, without the fees. All right, guys. Well, my name's PK. Have a fantastic day. Bye.